State Representative Lydia Hernandez says she was here at Maryville High School on Monday, that she went through the weapons detection system and that it went off. But that's where the similarities between her stories and the school's ends.
And if you can believe it or not, this is actually the clearest it's been since we've been here for about the last hour or so. That's Yawkey Point behind me. If you're familiar with the area, you can see it is very hazy, very dark, and the smell is absolutely here too. You can tell that there's a fire burning. But I'll remind you, this is 10 miles away from where the fire is actually burning, and it still feels very close to right here. Now, this is the middle of tourist season in one of the most busy national parks in the country, and you can see there's just not many people right now. Tourist season is being impacted by this fire, and you can see out here, just past that area is exactly where the North Rim is.
You see that gap in the border fencing there? That's where President Joe Biden stopped construction of the border wall just days after taking office. Now, 3.5 years later, this fencing has sat here unused in the desert. And as Donald Trump works to say that he will be the one who fixes these issues at the border, he wants to tie that gap to his opponent, Kamala Harris. The buyer of this home has bought houses and flipped them all across Phoenix, but he says this is the worst one he's seen so far. Just to give you a sense of how bad things got in this home, trash is piled up to your chest, not even a path to get through it all. For decades in the remote parts of Arizona, this has been the border wall, but soon it'll look much different. 30 feet of steel straight up in the air. Yeah, frankly, a lot of frustrations as a lot of people are seeing their flights delayed or canceled. Just to give you a visual of that, see all of these yellows right here. Those are all delays, and the red, those are cancellations. This is actually, I would maybe dare to say, even a little bit better than it was earlier.
Rachel, you have been talking to experts throughout the evening about the potential implications of this move. What are you hearing from them?
Yeah, Jane, this is a situation anyone who has had their eye on the Middle East knew could happen. Many hoped it wouldn't because it's unclear exactly what will happen next.
In Salie, population 1,408 on Arizona's northeastern border, a key endorsement.
Yate Navajo Nation and my fellow Native relatives in the great state of Arizona, I'm here today to encourage you to make the best decision for our people's future by voting for Ruben Gallego.
Ian Teller is being sought nationwide. His support broadcast by the likes of Kamala Harris herself.
I think we're realizing our power and understanding how important our participation is.
He's 24 years old and the founder of When Natives Vote, a group that works on getting more Indigenous people to the polls, regardless of their political leanings. He's found success on TikTok.
Do you plan on voting this election?
Part of a younger generation of natives who are taking their future
Today we have our first event here in Tuba City
into their own hands.
I mean, you have like 28,000 followers. That's 28,000 people who could possibly shift things.
The power of the native vote, something both sides are trying to harness. But Ian was initially skeptical.
I'm not used to it.
To share his personal leanings.
I am very progressive. I have a lot of fear for the opposition. I have a significant audience that I think is paying attention to what I have to say. It made me feel like, okay, but don't waste that.
Democrats have long relied on native votes, but they can't anymore.
I don't think that our community is a guaranteed blue area. Under Republican presidents, Democratic presidents, our communities for a long time have been ignored. Our communities for a long time have been oppressed.
Of all the battleground states this election year, none have more eligible Native voters than Arizona, more than enough to swing this election.
Native Americans make up 5% of Arizona's population, in a state Joe Biden only won by about 10,500 votes in 2020. Campaigns taking notice. The Navajo Nation is Arizona's largest tribe. Both Senate candidates took part in the Navajo Nation parade in September. Dedicated ads going out over the airwaves.
The relationship between tribal nations and the United States is sacred.
The Trump campaign set up a dedicated Navajo Nation field office. The Harris campaign hired 29 full-time staff for Arizona's tribal communities. And in October,
hello, Window Rock,
Tim Walz becoming what is believed to be the first candidate in a major party presidential campaign to visit the Navajo Nation. Introduced,
are you guys ready to meet the coach?
By Ian. But it might all be too little, too late for some. Jimrick Dabbs left the reservation. He spends his daylight cleaning bottom ash from a boiler plant near his home in Joseph City. At 47 years old, he's treading new ground this election.
I always voted Democrat, and until this year.
He brought with him his wife, his son, and his mother.
It made me so mad. They always say, oh, we're going to change this, we're going to give you this much money, and your infrastructure and all that's going to get fixed. I don't see it. We got potholes out there that's been there for 20 years.
Party switchers like Jim Ricks now blame the Democrats they've spent decades supporting.
It's not right to see your elders that way and your veterans. And I believe that's going to change here soon.
He's not alone in his frustrations.
These campaigns won your vote. Do you think they have gone the distance to actually earn it?
I would say there's always room for improvement.
Further south, near Phoenix,
Okay, hi.
Hey, nice to meet
Governor
you.
Lewis, yes.
Gila River Governor Stephen Roe Lewis has spent years relationship building with the federal government.
This could be a historic time in American history where we could really have such a cooperative, respectful relationship between the White House and the federal government and tribes.
It was Gila River land where President Joe Biden chose to apologize for the Native boarding schools that resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Native children over the course of decades.
Quite frankly, there's no excuse that this apology took 50 years to make.
This could be a sort of a new chapter of self-determination of where tribes can exercise their tribal sovereignty.
That phrase, tribal sovereignty, being used by Kamala Harris throughout her campaigns in Arizona this year.
I will always honor tribal sovereignty and respect tribal self-determination.
That decision to recognize tribal power explicitly stands out to some.
To see her say that, for me, it was a powerful experience.
But they worry about Trump's ability to see it at all.
Project 2025, if that is former President Trump's platform, that would have devastating effects to tribal sovereignty, to defunding education and healthcare issues, natural resources, potentially even water rights.
Trump has denied being affiliated with Project 2025.
When you talk about having a seat at the table, would you have that in a Trump administration?
I don't know. From a lack of information, I would have some very serious concerns.
We took that question directly to J.D. Vance.
Your campaign has been working particularly hard this election season to win over the votes of Native voters here in Arizona. Can you promise that they'll be able to have a seat at the table, potentially roles in your administration?
The thing I promise, both for me and also on behalf of President Trump, is look, we're not always going to agree on every issue, but what I always promise is we're always going to listen to people, and Native and tribal folks are always going to have a seat at the table.
With time ticking toward Election Day, both parties know they need Native votes. And Indian country knows it too.
We deserve the attention. Native people are recognizing that and recognizing their power, and people who are running for office see that.
For ABC 15's political team, I'm Rachel Louise Just in the Navajo Nation.
New reporting tonight in our Border Watch as we ride along with the Cochise County Sheriff's Office.
Rachel Louise Just is asking deputies about the past 4 years and the impact of the current administration as a new one prepares to take over.
On a chilly Tuesday night, it's 0 to 100 or higher in Cochise County. Deputy Dan Brennan is pursuing 2 people caught on camera picking up migrants and now on the run.
Driver accident, he's running off the land, so we're getting the helicopter over there to get eyes on him.
Pursuits like this are common, but aren't happening at nearly the level they were 2 years ago.
It was insane. To put it lightly. It felt like there was not just a pursuit a day. There felt like there were 3, 4, or 5 pursuits a day. And those are just the pursuits.
Brennan attributes the slowdown to their work.
We collected resources and foster relationships with government partners and the federal government to be able to do better at this and keep our community safe.
I know, because your efforts, you don't feel it's necessarily coming from the top, though.
I don't know. I'm just the guy on the ground.
Law enforcement focused on the border has been adjusting through years of fluctuating immigration policy. Much of President Biden's border action didn't happen until recently. And while the president had started his term pledging a pause to deportations, this last year is ending with Biden beating Trump's deportation record.
All right, very well.
In June, Biden put in place an executive order restricting asylum seekers, a taste of what's expected to come under Trump's second term.
They're excited they're going to be able to do their job again. Who wouldn't be, right? If you just spent 4 years kind of with shackles on.
About an hour after we first got the call about their chase,
we got them.
Law enforcement catching the 2 teenagers suspected of human smuggling. With law enforcement behind them, they tried to make a turn here, but they were going too fast, and they went right off the road here, going through some of this fencing into the field where
They stopped just off the road.
The migrants they'd been transporting escaping before the car crashed. Deputies have seen migrants die because of chases like this.
You okay? The individuals being smuggled, they were telling the driver, stop, let us out. You know, we don't want to get hurt.
In their final weeks under Biden, law enforcement along the border is preparing for an administration that won on a promise to support them. They're hoping that promise leads to action. For ABC 15 in Cochise County, I'm Rachel Louise Just.
At a library in South Phoenix, a group is learning how to track federal immigration agents. They're called ICE trackers, and they're alerting thousands across the valley to enforcement activity in real time.
In fact, it's actually part of a growing national movement. Legal experts say the surveillance is lawful as long as it happens on public property and doesn't interfere with the actual operations. New tonight, ABC 15's Rachel Louise Just spent the day with the local network.
If you do not believe that you would be able to handle yourself without getting physical, this is not the right training group for you.
At a library in South Phoenix, community members are getting trained for a job unique to the Trump administration.
One of the most important things we consistently tell people is film, film, film.
These are ICE trackers, people volunteering their free time to find, record, and alert the community about ICE raids.
Hold on just a second.
It's a full-time calling.
They're back at the church again.
Clarissa Vela leads People First Project, which quietly organizes Phoenix's ICE trackers.
Community members are concerned and they've said, hey, can you guys go and see if you see anything?
With a few taps on her phone, Clarissa can alert more than 14,000 people in the Phoenix area about ICE activity.
We're watching them like they're watching us. Not because we want to harm them, but because we want them to know that they're being held accountable.
What happens if you aren't there?
They're breaking out windows, busting down doors.
We arrive at a grocery store in North Phoenix known for ICE activity. It's a false alarm, but here we meet a woman we'll call Tina.
We just got an alert on 19th Ave in Glendale, and I'm pretty sure they're abducting us.
Her son constantly worries his parents, both immigrants, will be taken.
We can barely go anywhere.
Even though she was brought to the U.S. as a child, Tina worries she'll be the next one reported in the trackers group chats.
I've been here 38 years, almost of my life. Where am I going to go? This is my house. This is my home.
As we're talking to Tina and her son,
17th Avenue in Glendale,
the trackers get an alert just a few miles away.
We have 3 Pinal County vehicles. They are pulling somebody over. They got on red and blues.
Clarissa believes these Pinal deputies are in Phoenix on an ICE operation. The county is one of a few in Arizona assisting with federal immigration enforcement.
Can you tell us why you're here?
That's the bad guys.
I hang out until they leave and let them know that they are being surveilled.
As we leave Clarissa, she prepares for another night dealing with her latest challenge, death threats.
I'll alert you when I see your dead bodies on the street. How about that?
She's received dozens of them in the last 2 days after a video of her identifying ICE agents went viral.
At the end of the day, we're not going to stop protecting our communities.
How do you think the work that you do right now will be viewed years or decades into the future?
People won't remember exactly the impact we had on communities in this time, but the families will remember.
For ABC 15 Arizona, I'm Rachel Louise Just.